Hi, it's Mark. It's a rainy day here at the farm, and I can't do a lot of work on the tractor um, with this much rain. So instead, I've just been thinking about kind of Sunday school and the reading that we're gonna hear at church this Sunday. Um, and the story you'll hear about Jesus reminds me of that old saying, "You can't judge a book by its cover." Which reminds me that uh, my wife wants me to make dinner tonight, and so I was thinking about, well, what am I going to make for dinner? And I've got some chicken that I've got to cook, and you know, I thought, well, maybe this book is a great book to cook chicken with, and it's all about chicken and got beautiful pictures and whatnot, and that might be a great book to think about. Um, but there's also this book, which is, it's old and worn down, and it doesn't have any beautiful pictures inside. Um, so if you were me, which book do you think I should choose? The nice looking book or the kind of old ratty book? And the thing that got me thinking about all this is when Jesus in today's story goes to the temple, he starts teaching the people there kind of about what God wants them to do. And the temple is kind of like, in those days, the big main church for all the Jewish people in Jerusalem. A very important place. And the priests in the temple were very important people. And they, you know, didn't like just anybody showing up and telling everybody what God wanted them to do. And, so they come over and they say, Jesus, you know, what gives you the right to teach here at the temple? Um, and the thing is that before Jesus, you had John the Baptist, who was a famous teacher, who was telling everybody that Jesus would be an even more important teacher than John was. Um, and the priests knew this, and they knew that all the people thought that John was a great teacher, and if if Jesus were even a better teacher than John, then wow. Um, and so Jesus said, I'll try to answer that question for you, but first, let me ask you a question. And the priests were kind of like, well, okay, ask a question. And Jesus said, well, if you know, is John telling the truth? Is John saying what God wants him to say? Or is John not telling the truth? And the priests got together and were like, if we say that that John is telling the truth, and John says that Jesus is a great teacher, then what are we going to do? Because then all the people will know that Jesus is a great teacher, and how can we tell them not to teach at the temple? Uh, but if we say that John isn't telling the truth, but everybody knows that he's this teacher and they think that God is talking to him, then, you know, then here we're calling John a liar and everybody's going to be upset with us. And so they came back to Jesus and they said, we don't know. Um, and Jesus was like, if if you don't know whether John was, speaking the truth or not, then I can't tell you, what's going on. If you're not going to believe John, then whatever I say doesn't matter. But I'm gonna tell you a story anyway to try and get you thinking about this. And so Jesus says, what if there's a dad and the dad has two kids, and one of the kids, I'm sure is not like you, but one of the kids is always kind of, sitting around playing Minecraft, not doing what they're supposed to do, telling dad, oh, I'll do it later, blah blah blah. Uh, doesn't really do what his mom and dad tell him to do. Doesn't listen and is always just like, yeah, dad, whatever. Um, so, dad says, I've got this important job for you, and the kid, as usual, says, yeah, dad, whatever. And the dad goes to his other child, and he says, I've got this important job for you. And the other child is the child who is always, trying to do the proper thing, or at least trying to appear like they're doing the proper thing. It's always, oh, yes, Dad. Yes, sir. I'll do that right away, sir. No problem. Right? So, a little bit later, the job has to get done, and it's actually the first kid who goes out and does the job, even though he's like, yeah, whatever, I don't want to do it, blah, blah, blah. And the kid who's like, yes, sir, I would love to help out, doesn't do it. And so Jesus looks at the priests after telling this story, and he says, which child is doing his father's will, or her father's will? And then the priest, kind of, they knew the truth, and they knew that they were probably the child who was saying, yes, sir, I'll do it right away, I'd be happy to help out, and then not doing it. And that maybe Jesus was the one who, who didn't appear right, or maybe John was the one who didn't appear right, but who did the right thing. So, when we look around, there are going to be people who look good and who say the right things and who appear proper, who don't do the right things, and who aren't acting with love and kindness and all the things that we value. And then there are the people who are like, oh, I don't want to do it. And they go and do it anyway. So, who do you think is doing what God wants and needs them to do? I think I know the answer. And that gets back to which book should I use to decide to cook dinner? Well, let me give you a little hint. I've had this book for about 30 years, which is why it's all broken down and why the pages are all messed up and whatnot. And this book may be good if I just want to cook chicken and if I, want to have nice pictures. But if I want to feed my family and do right, this book has salads, and it has main meals, and it has desserts, and it has everything I need. It will tell me what I need, even though it doesn't look great. So when you're out there in the world, look for people who tell you what you need, even if they don't look the way you think they're supposed to. And if somebody looks the way you think they're supposed to, but isn't telling you the right thing, then go find somebody who is telling you the right thing, who is telling you the truth. And that is the story that you're going to hear about in church this Sunday. The story of how Jesus went to the temple where people were supposed to be telling people, the priests were supposed to be telling people the right thing. And it was Jesus who was telling them the right thing. So I hope you have a good weekend, and I hope everything is going well for you, and I hope the rain lets up so I can get some work done here at the farm. Have a lovely Sunday.